Hello, and welcome to Someone You Love with Joseph Antonio. I have been so lucky to sit down with some pretty exceptional guests on this podcast, and today is no different. Episode 6, I am so excited to introduce my good friend and an amazing actor, Jon Perkins. Jon is a Chicago-based actor, voiceover artist, and a true Shakespeare savant. He is a proud alumni of Northern Illinois University and was formerly an emerging professional resident at the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, where he understudied the role of Romeo in Romeo and Juliet, among many, many others. Jon is wildly talented, endlessly funny, and deeply kind. I am so thankful Jon joined me on this episode. Please enjoy episode 6 of Someone You Love with Jon Perkins.
Give me more than you think you should. And that's what my high school theater teacher always told us. So I always tell myself that I'm going to give the world more than that's expected of me, you know? So I always bring that into whatever I do. So like, you know, I'm really coming into my artistry now. And I always thought that level of play was so fun. And I'm like, wait a minute. I am like this actor. I am this performer. I am XYZ. Yeah. I can be serious. I can be this if you want me to, but at the core of myself, you know this. Yeah. Like, bro, I'm goofy, bro. Yeah. I like messing around. I like being truthful to myself. You know, I can. I don't know, bro. I'm just speaking in draft right now.
No, I love that.
Do you know what I mean?
Of course I do. I think that's what I love so much about your brand, if you will. Like this kind of like Jonathan Perkins, Perks of Jon, even. Kind of brand that you have. Like something I think of so specifically is the bio that you wrote at Milwaukee Rep when we first introduced ourselves to the team. And your line was like, what's up? I'm Jonathan Perkins.
Oh, I'm so hyped.
Hyped to be here.
I was.
And that's the thing is you were, but it's like, I assure you, every other bio, including myself, was
thrilled.
Like, I'm thrilled to be here. So thrilled to be joining. Yeah. So excited to be joining. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's like when you see something, when you read something, when you watch something of yours, you're like, that is Jon.
Yeah.
Continuity.
Did you watch that?
Of course I did.
Where did you find?
So fun. And what I love about that one is when it's my favorite one. I went back a few times.
Oh my gosh.
It's when you tap on the little like
the sign.
You're like, yep, okay. And the sign is like, it's like
smile is
It's like we like something like attitude is important in this business, smile, and you're like, that one is so fun.
That's my actual sign. I brought that from home for that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Incredible. It's just everything that you do, everything that is around you is so uniquely you. And I love that. I've taken inspiration from that.
Oh, man.
You know, just trying to build my website, my podcast, my sort of footprint to really represent me. You know, there's no reason to say thrilled. We all say it, but like, what else can you say? You know, how else can you make it yours? That's what I love about your sort of digital footprint.
Thanks, man. Like, where did you find that?
I know everything.
Well, I know it's not even on I don't have a website anymore right now.
That is devastating. Perks of Jon down, and so am I.
Perksofjon.com. Rest in peace. Can I get a moment of silence? Thank you.
Yes. Perks of Jon. Miss the site. Yeah, I'm curious. So you've done these speech tournaments, and then you find your way into acting, and one of the things that you really start to stumble in on is this very specific writer that is pretty well known around the area. His name is William Shakespeare. And you know him. You've done a few.
Bro, yes.
You've done
right.
I believe you've done 7 Shakespeares.
Have I?
You've done Romeo and Juliet twice.
Yes.
So we'll count those as 2.
Okay.
Merry Wives of Windsor.
Yes.
King Lear.
Yes.
Macbeth.
Yeah.
You've done Much Ado.
Yes. Oh.
And also, what's the last one you've done? You've done
Quickly.
Oh, what is it? Wait, Much Ado is always the one I forget about. So when I got Much Ado, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't remember what the last one is.
Comedy of Errors.
Comedy of Errors.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, so you've done 7, 6, 7, depending if you count Romeo and Juliet twice.
Wow.
So what about Shakespeare's work to the audience? Like, what about Shakespeare's work is so, I guess, like, compelling for you? And how would you what would you say to someone who was like maybe against Shakespeare or maybe even looking to like give it a second shot?
Yeah, bro. I will say it was actually, I did Romeo and Juliet 3 times. I didn't count. I did it in high school. I was Lady Capulet.
Were you actually?
I was actually Lady Capulet.
That's incredible.
And my teacher adapted it, so I was just Capulet, and Lord Capulet was my wife.
Oh, fine.
But Lord Capulet, all his lines and stuff were to a woman. And I thought it was really, really strong. I thought it was very cool.
That's very cool.
But I will say, I fucking hated Shakespeare. I could not stand it. You know, when I was in high school, I was like, bro, why are we reading Hamlet? Why are we reading? I don't know what he's saying. Why can't he just talk regularly? Blah, 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 blah. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what a lot of students now or kids who aren't, you know, used to hearing Shakespeare, they are just told to read it. And I don't think that's the right way to learn it or to teach it. You know, it's meant to be seen and heard. You know, that's how it was. You know, back in the old days when they went to go see a play, they meant to go hear a play. They went to go hear the words, and it had audience interaction. The groundlings were there. They'd ask questions, and they'd be like, yeah, kill him, you know? And I didn't know all of that. It wasn't until my sophomore year of undergrad at NIU that I really got bit by the bug, you know? I was doing this speech. It was Othello, and it was about when it was Iago was telling Othello that, hey, bro, maybe your wife is cheating on you. He was like, bro, what? You think I'm gonna make a life of jealousy? What are you talking about? And I don't know, something about that one. I was just like, oh wait, this actually makes sense to me, you know? I didn't know that people like me, especially, like, I'm a black man, I didn't attribute Shakespeare to someone in my body. So my teacher, Stanton Davis, he was like, hey man, you know, you're kind of good at this. And I was like, all right, bro. that's pretty funny. And he was like, no, actually, like, you should really consider like doing this as a profession. And I was like, really? Like me? Like, I'm looking at myself like I'm a big dude. I'm a fat black guy, and that doesn't make any sense to me. It did not compute in my brain that I could do Shakespeare. So Shakespeare has been like, it gave me my career. Shakespeare gave me my career, and I am forever grateful to that. You know, I didn't know. Like I said, I say it a million times, I didn't know that I could do this. And if I were to say anything to someone like me, which is why I do it, you know, I want them to see kind of like how I saw people, like when I saw Hamilton, it was my first time seeing people of color on stage. And it was phenomenal. It blew my mind. So when I do Shakespeare, I want to invoke that same feeling for people that see it. Yeah. I want them to look at me and be like, oh my God, bro, that's me. Yeah. That's me. It doesn't matter like what your color is or how big or how skinny you are. That's you. That's your voice. That's your brain. That's your words. The vernacular, the way that I speak. I'm not going to speak. I don't think I have Shakespeare voice where they're like, to be or not to be. I'm like, bro, you can say it. You can still honor the verse and the scansion of it, but you can just say it how you would. You're in those given imaginary circumstances, you know? I would love someone to think that way when they see me do Shakespeare. And it's not something that I thought I'd find myself doing. I have, I don't know, a desire to do more modern and contemporary plays. I just haven't,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't even, I don't know if I could say the project I'm doing next.
I don't know either, but I'm excited for you. I'm really.
But that's still Shakespeare adjacent, I'm like,
yeah.
even though it is a contemporary play, I'm like, I don't know if I can.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
you definitely have it under your belt, and I know I'm very excited. I don't know if you can either, but I'm excited for you to be a part of that project.
Yeah, bro.
I think I also had a very similar experience with Shakespeare, and I think it's so wild to me that we sort of grow up with this notion that Shakespeare is really limiting.
Yeah.
When it is so vastly, like, it's so vast.
It is.
And the way that I think because the plays are public domain, because they're public domain, they're free. So we all, as normal average humans, have access to every single one of Shakespeare's plays.
Oh yeah.
Because he's passed away so many years ago. And so having access to those plays, like, we just have access to any type of casting, any type of creation. And so it's really, I really love that you have found a place in that. And I think, I mean, it just is really cool to have a space where you feel like you can be Jon. Because that's what I want to see on stage. I don't know about you, but that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
So it's really cool, Jon. Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And you feel free to share as much as you'd like.
Okay.
Is there a significance to the date November 1st, 2020?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that day?
Yeah. So, okay. I knew this was going to come up for some reason.
Did you?
Well, I post it every November 1st.
Yeah.
So, November 1st, 2020 was a date that I made a vow to myself. I made a vow that, no matter what happens in my life, no matter where I'm at, no matter what I do, I'm always going to love myself, I was in a situation where I had been, let's say, like, I was friends with this person throughout like high school, and they went to the same college as me. And November 1st is when I decided to put myself first and say, we can't do this no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I marked that date as like, okay, I am going to be me and only me, not under, the bounds of somebody else, never submitting myself to somebody else's ideals, or like have somebody else speak for me, or be attached to somebody else in a way that suffocated my own voice. So November 1st, I always have to remember that day, because I separate myself from, the person who I was, even though that is still me. That's when I kind of became Perks of Jon. That's when I used to spell my name, like, my name is spelled Jon, as Jon. I used to spell my name as John.
Interesting.
For no particular reason.
Even though Jon, Jon, is actually how it's legally.
It's actually how it's spelled.
Okay, interesting.
And from that point onward, I was like, dude, I'm taking the H out of my name.
Yeah.
I'm Johnny with no H. I'm Jon, Jon.
Interesting.
So, it's weird. I haven't thought about this in a long time, like putting it to words. But that's when Jon Perkins was born. I had found myself in this community of people in my college where I was like, okay, people, like, I enjoy being around people, and people enjoy being around me. And that was something that I didn't know was possible. Like, I am worthy and capable of being loved as I am able to love other people. So yeah, November 1st, I always have to remember that. No matter what I know I don't post on Instagram as often as I'd like to, but I will always, always, always make a post for November 1st.
Yeah.
For the rest of my life, you know? Yeah, so that's pretty much what that is, you know. That's when I became me.
Yeah. That's interesting. I noticed that that date had some sort of significance to you, and that it came with some level of like, it sounds to me like it was not, maybe it was it's maybe a little bit of a painful reminder. And I think what I love about what you shared, thank you, by the way, is that it's the memory of something that might not be as pleasant, that has allowed you to accept and move forward as yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've noticed that a lot of like reflection seems to be something that you bring up in your life, especially on social media, like your reflection, a mirror, seeing yourself, not seeing yourself. And I think that's a very normal and common thing that young people feel nowadays, is looking into a mirror, sometimes literally, and not recognizing someone that you see on the other side. Yeah. You know, and I think that is a, like, I appreciate that you share that, because it's important to like express yourself in that way and be honest with yourself and maybe with the people around you, you know, who might feel similarly.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was, I couldn't allow myself to feel that way anymore. So, you know, there was a time where I looked at a mirror, or, you know, I looked at old pictures of myself and I'm like, dang, who is this guy? You know, I would look at a project I did and I'm like, I don't know who that is. Is this me? And I realized that, you know, I am always evolving. And, you know, even though I may not recognize who that person was, I could still understand, like, yes, that was me in this particular instance of time. And I can still love that person, you know? It took a long time for me to heal from that, and for me to appreciate every step of that journey, you know? So, yeah, I just have to honor who I was, who I am right now, who I'm going to be. Yeah.
If you could speak to that maybe version of yourself, maybe on the other side of November 1st, 2020, is there anything that you would offer, any advice you'd offer to yourself at that time?
Yeah. You know, it was 2020, but it was also a time where I isolated myself a lot, you know, because of that. It was a very lonely time, you know. When COVID hit, I went from being a high school senior to being unemployed to starting school virtually for an entire year. I didn't have a roommate. I was on campus in my own dorm room that entire year. You know, sometimes like we'd hang out, like my cohort members and I, but it took a long time for them to even like get me out, because I'm like, nah, what if I see this person who I detach myself from? What if I, you know, go back? What if I don't think that I'm worthy of hanging out with friends, you know? So I would say, dude, just, of course, you know, social distance. I'll tell you that. Where yo, Matt, he did social distance.
Good.
He was very good at it. I'll tell
so
you.
Just maybe a reminder. Yeah, keep it up.
But dude, hang out with your friends. You know, play that video game. You know, watch that movie. Drink that drink. I didn't start drinking until my senior year of college, which is good. If I did drink back then, I'd probably be bad. Yeah. But, you know, hang out, you know, seek the community around you that is trying to get you involved. Why not do that? You deserve that. That's what I tell them.
On this podcast,
Yeah.
on Someone You Love, as you know, as an avid listener,
I'm your biggest fan, actually.
which I am so honored and thankful for. I tend to give, or I do give an artist an opportunity to speak a little bit about someone that they love, someone that they admire, after I get the opportunity to do it first.
Right.
So I sent you a Google form. And
I wrote a paragraph. My bad.
And no, I loved it. It was honestly really wonderful to read. And so Jamak Newberry was who you wrote about.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about Jamak, introduce us to him, and why you admire him.
Yo, Jamak, that's my dog, bro. Jamak Newberry. If you ever think about somebody that's working, that's him. That is like the definition of a working man, bro. Like, when I think of Jamak, bro, the first thing you notice is how tall he is. Like, he's like huge. So imagine, like, you see how long your hair is? Imagine that with dreads.
Yeah.
Well, he's black.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But he's like massive, you know?
Yeah.
My first introduction to Jamak was when I was in undergrad, you know, all the productions were virtual. And they had done this production called The Resistible Rise of Arturo Ui. It was a Bertolt Brecht piece. And I don't know what the hell was going on. I'm going to be real with you. But I saw him and I was like, damn, who is that? You know, because I'm like, well, like, this is at a time where I'm still figuring out that black people can do theater. So I immediately was like, oh, dude, I got to talk to him. I got to see him. And I was still scared to give him that text, that email. But he reached out to me my freshman year. And there was this thing called the BIPOC Play Reading Series. And that continued all throughout the time I graduated. But he was directing a stage reading of Pipeline by Dominique Morisseau. And it was the second play that I had ever read by a black person, a black woman. The first one was Stick Fly by Lydia Diamond. You saw that monologue I did. But this one was about this kid named Omari and his mom. Her name is Naya. And it was talking about the school to prison pipeline. And it reminded me a lot of the relationship between Omari and his mother. It reminded me a lot of my brother and my mom. So when I was reading it, and, you know, Jamak, you know, he was directing it, and he was like a very like special, like good guidance, you know, and presence in the room. It was amazing. I felt it was like the first time I ever felt the word cathartic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
And so we did this reading in front of the whole school, you know, people that came to see it. And that's when I was like, oh man, I can do this, you know. It's I didn't know that this was something that could happen. So Jamak was he really was part of the journey that started my artistry. So he is like someone that I really, really look up to, because I know that I can be just like him. He's a great mentor. He's a great teacher. He's a great friend. He's a great presence, you know. You see me come into a room and I'm just trying to be like him. When I say I'm trying to get like him, like, I actually mean that, you know. Like, I'm actually trying to be like that guy. And he's like spit so much, you know, wisdom in my ear. You know, anytime I saw him in the hallway, he'd just be like, yo, what's going on, bro? Like, how's it going? And we just talk. You know, one time he took me, we went for a ride, and he was just showing me around DeKalb, the college town. And we were just talking and yapping, and like, we're just sitting in the car for a couple hours, and we were just talking about life, man. And yeah, he is someone that I constantly strive to, you know, be like. Yeah, I mean, it was an easy answer to say that it was Jamak.
Sure.
And, you know, if you talk to Rachel Yoder about Jamak, like, yo, anybody that knows him knows that he is good people.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I have, as you know on this podcast, I do my very best to acknowledge a community's admiration to an artist. So I want to acknowledge that Jon, when I asked Jon to join me on this podcast, Jon was like, it better be someone that I'm not expecting. So I felt a lot of pressure. You put way too much pressure on me. I was like, gosh, dang it, Jon. But besides all that, I do have a letter for you.
Okay.
That I'm going to grab right now.
Oh my God. Who is it from?
Well, you're about to find out, my friend. I am so thankful to be reading a letter to you from Stanton Davis.
Oh, man. I was just talking about him.
You were. You ready?
Yeah.
Jonathan is, quite simply put, an extraordinary person. Kind to a fault, smart as a whip, humble and inquisitive. As an actor, he's not afraid of going to dark places as well as absurd and comical excess. I have rarely ever experienced a more giving and enthusiastic artist. They say a rising tide raises all boats. Jonathan is the tide. His intellect and unflinching commitment to each project in which he is involved graces others with his inquisitive and passionate pursuit of essential truths on stage. He has served as an impeccable force for craft and training over self-serving aggrandizement. In short, he is the kind of artist and human we should all aspire to be. A really good man, a really great human. Stanton.
Oh, man. That's my guy, bro. Wow, bro. You know, Stanton is the one that got me into Shakespeare. Like, man. Wow. Thank you, man. Thank you. Is this the part where I get my copy?
This is the part where you get your copy, my friend.
You know, Stanton, he calls me Rifleman Perkins.
Rifleman Perkins.
Yeah.
I love it.
You know?
Yeah, I do.
Hey, and before we end this podcast,
yeah,
I will say, I have a gift for you.
No.
I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
That is crazy, Jon.
Hold on. Can I? Yeah. Let me get mine.
What?
Yeah.
This is so... Jonathan Perkins.
Yeah, man. Hold on. I have it right here. Unfortunately, you don't get a copy of it. I wrote
That
it down.
is so sweet of you.
Okay. So...
I am genuinely surprised.
I did my research.
Okay.
And I reached out to somebody who really, really loves you.
Jon, that is so sweet.
His name is Jonathan Perkins.
Aww.
And it reads, Mr. Joseph, parentheses, Jobro Antonio, Bodro, Joey, Gabe, and parentheses, Antonio. I want to begin with saying, I love you, bro. I was actually inspired by Susanna Turner to write this. In the first episode, she said the best way to make sense of things and to get it all out and be the creative I want to be is to write it. So here I am. You do a lot of giving in this podcast, so here's my gift to you. You are a light in this community. I've never met someone who goes out and just gets it. You moved across the country to Milwaukee, fucking Wisconsin, and then somehow found your way to Chicago after being in that shitty hotel with Diana and Davis. Yeah. Spending those months with you and Davis were some of the best in my entire life. No bullshit. I mean that with all of my heart. You've inspired me to work more on my creative projects And not in a way that I usually say, oh yeah, I'm working on something. This podcast is proof that you can have the faintest idea of something, not know how to do it, and then teach yourself to pursue that success. You are a true artist. Whether that means you're putting tuna in chicken noodle soup, locking yourself in your room to read your toxic productivity book, or just being a positive force in the room, all of this is attributed to the unique artist you are. Love you, buddy. Signed, Perks of Jon.
Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah,
that is so sweet of you.
Love you, man.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be your friend, honestly. It is such a pleasure to just know you, to have gotten to know you.
Yeah, man. Sorry, I don't know what the hell's going on outside.
It's construction. You are just
yeah.
so... that's so kind of you. It's such a wonderful gift. Thank you.
Yeah, bro. No, I meant it with all my heart, bro.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Isn't Jon just such a sweetheart? That gift, I still, as I'm recording this, I still feel it. It's just so kind for Jon to do that for me. If you enjoyed this episode or any other episodes, please feel free to leave a review, share it with your friends, or follow the show for more conversations like this. Until next time, take care, and don't forget to tell someone you love them. Do it. It's so worth it. Mwah. That's it. Bro, we're done.
Damn, bro.
We did it. We did
You know
it.
what I'm saying? Oh, what are we doing? We're doing this?
Yes, we're doing that. Yeah. That was so kind of you, Jon.
Yeah,
Thank
bro.
you.
I was like, bro, no one's ever done this before.
You're so right. You got me beat. You got me. You're one of one so far.
Yeah, man.
Bitches better. They better start. Now they know.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I'm giving them a gift.
That's what I'm saying.
Bring it back.
That's what I'm saying. Like, actually, bring a drink to the house.
That's what I'm saying, man. Give me a little shoulder massage.